Hey, it's Tyler, Sam, Weekly Metal Reviews, here to talk about one of our most anticipated albums of the year, one of the biggest releases of the year, the Black Dahlia Murder with Everblack, coming out June 11th, which is this fucking Tuesday on Metal Blade Records. This is like their 6th album, I believe, and you know, we reviewed the kind of pretty much title track Into the Everblack when they released it a while ago, and that's a great song, and that is just one of 9 other great songs on this album. So yeah, let's dive into this fucking beast. Here we go.
I'll start it with this. Metal releases for a while just haven't like wowed me, or whatever you want to say. I haven't been into metal as much as I used to. Even music in general, a lot of genres I've been just getting out of music a lot. And I haven't heard an album, like a new album, in a while that I'm like wowed by. And it was pretty crazy that when I started listening to this, I was wowed by it. And you think it's something like the Black Dahlia Murder, where at least in my opinion, I think that they've never altered their sound to become something that's like way out of their comfort zone. Not saying that all their albums sound the same, but you can hopefully agree that they've never like journeyed to Mordor. But nonetheless, they're still a great band. I have appreciated them very much over the years. Especially Nocturnal. That's been my favorite release by them. Definitely it was really good. So was Ritual. But this album, for the Black Dahlia Murder and for music in general, something about this was like, it somehow captured me. It somehow brought me in, and it was one of the first albums in a while that I was really able to just sit here and like, even just basic chord progressions that you would hear, I'm just like, oh, that's so like I don't know, it's like, somehow it just gets me. It's like teeth, like, what do you call it, just grinding your teeth. I'm like, oh man, I'm like, that progression is sick. Something about it, if it's just the most basic thing. And you can already tell that I love this album. I'm easing into this. Just the most basic things on this album were like, oh, it really captured me. So, I'm going to be biased in this review, of course. You can already tell because I like it. Just the slightest things about this album, for some reason, like, grabbed me. And it has such a presence from the beginning to the end. And that's one of the biggest things about an album, whether you like it or not, on the first listen, if it has a presence right away. Sometimes you have to listen to it a little bit. That qualifies to me as not having a presence. First introductions are everything. The album comes out, shakes your hand, I like this album, and you're friends. But if an album, you have to get used to it, it's kind of, you know, it's not the same. And this album was like the best first impression that I've had in a long time. Dating back to first time I heard Dead Throne by the Devil Wears Prada, and I am a big fan of that album, whether you like it or not. It's just personal, you know, my preference, my taste, my perception on things. And this album made such a first impression, whether it be the, like I was talking about, just basic chord progressions that are so raw and like, how am I trying to say this? It's like crisp, but at the same time it's like eerie sounding, like this band, the imagery that I usually get is like Transylvania or something, Dracula's Castle. And I'm not talking about Twilight vampires or whatever. I'm talking about like back in the day, Bela Lugosi, Dracula, black and white, like horror. That's what I get from this band. And it like, this album really didn't stop that imagery for me. But it's like, a thunderstorm and there's a castle and it's lightning and it's creepy and it's, as far as imagery goes, I mean, I could go on about that all day, but the music itself, the slightest chord progressions, I was like, oh man, that works so well. The drumming, as always, whether they have Shannon or not, the drumming for this band I can see as far as I can see, it'll be some of the most aggressive, yet in a way, kind of an art form of drumming that I've ever heard. This band definitely has their trademark drumming. And guitar riffs, Ryan is, as far as riffs go, like, you really have to sometimes listen, because sometimes it's like, yeah, it's fast and cool and all, and it's like, yeah, death metal, but it's like you really get in there, you really like dive into it, and you pick it apart and you examine it. That's when sometimes a riff will really mean something to you, or it would be just another riff. And to me, these riffs are, I adore them a lot. They fascinate me. Somehow, this band hasn't, like I said, they haven't ventured way out of their comfort zone, but somehow the riffs are still there. I can't explain it. They're one of the most creative things. Some people will be like, oh, every album sounds the same or whatever, but my perception on this, what I hear is something that really captures me. Trevor's vocals are, I don't want to say the same, but they haven't changed a lot. They're still, like, ravenous, and I don't know how to explain it. Like, someone is getting choked, and it feels like someone's getting brutally murdered. His lows are still incredibly underrated in my opinion, and his highs are like a slasher film. That's what it reminds me of. It's so, it will just cut the silence. His voice can cut through like mile thick fog, in my opinion. It can break windows. It has a presence. Ryan has a presence. And this is just me, in my opinion, whatever. If I like this album, it has a presence to me. Other people will be like, oh yeah, it's just, I could see if someone was like, oh well, this is just like any of their other albums. Sure, that's your opinion, or you're not really into death metal or whatever, but this is actually a review. Like, sometimes I seem to forget or not think this is a review, and I'm trying to give you an idea of what the album is like. My review to entice you to listen to it, or encourage you to stray from it a little bit. But I am enticing this album. I am recommending this album. If you like the Black Dahlia Murder or death metal, this is melodic death metal, whatever. Even if you like deathcore or whatever, or metalcore, no matter what genre you like, you could still like this. It is fast. It is incredibly eerie. Like, metal riffs, yeah, they're eerie, they're evil or whatever, but this band does such a great job of making it, just portraying this, like I said, Dracula castle in a thunderstorm, black and white, classic horror, not some type of, I'm gonna kill you, and then dun dun dun, goes to like a breakdown, some type of silly thing like that. The lyrics seem to also portray a bit of imagery, and it all combines into having such a presence for me. And this album, I can't see where it lacks anywhere. Ryan, aside of his riffs, aside of his bone crushing, and you think you'll play it, your fingers will snap off, or whatever, his amazing riffs, like he'll catch on fire. I feel like everyone in this band catches on fire when they play these songs. Like, the drummer just combusts spontaneously, and Ryan's fingers fall off, and Trevor's voice box blows out. Like, this band goes so hard in the paint. They're like Tim Duncan. They are unstoppable up in the paint and near the rim. And Ryan's solos are fantastic. Some of the greatest solos that I've heard in recent times. I'm not talking about like classical Jimmy Page or I don't know, Jimi Hendrix or even Kirk Hammett, whatever, classic, whatever you want to say, they have better solos. This is like my perception. I keep saying like, I keep messing up on that, but my perception, these are some of the best solos. If you appreciate these kinds of solos and this kind of music, the solos are... I don't really ever say it's about solos. You never hear me talking about solos because I'm not really a solo kind of guy, but these are some awesome solos. And I said solo so many times it sounds weird now. These are some awesome Han solos. And the riffs are riff-freshing. And the vocals are, like I said, a knife cutting through butter. A knife just slashing someone's neck. And it's eerie. It's badass. It's nothing that you wouldn't expect from the Black Dahlia Murder, but it certainly delivers. It delivers every time, and in full force. However many times I've listened to any song on this album, a couple of them I've listened to twice, and I'm like, okay, I know what I'm going to say about this album. Sometimes I need to think and think and think, but I know this is a good album. If you enjoy this kind of music, or you're kind of thinking about this, it will scare your mom, and it will frighten everyone in your household, and you'll be driving on the street and people will give you weird looks, but you will enjoy it. And this is my review of it. Screw what anyone says about this band, if like they're mallcore or whatever. This band is absolutely, this album is one of the best of this year that I've heard. Critically acclaimed, near perfect. From reviewers. Me.
And
that's
me.
it.
And me.
Now Tyler.
I think this album is near perfect as well. Maybe even perfect, actually. Why is this album so great? Because Sam's freaking out and creaming all over this album. And I haven't seen Sam cream over an album for a long fucking time.
Since Dead Throne.
Pretty much since he's gotten into The Devil Wears Prada.
Yeah.
That's why this is a good album. Just right there. That's all I have to say. Anyways, no, I'm gonna keep going. Fuck you.
Watch him out.
This album, this band, is just somehow they pull this style off. Where to me they kind of they remind me of like Slayer or Cannibal Corpse, where you know those bands, they have their style, they stick to it, and they don't stray from it. And they'll just write this album that crushes your face, and the next album will crush your face, and all that stuff. They don't stray from the path very much. Haha. The Black Dahlia Murder is the same way. You go back to the early stuff, it's still some spine-crushing melodic death metal fused with, you know, a little bit maybe more classic death metal times, you know. And they just keep getting better album after album. Nocturnal, to me, is, you know, I feel that that is the album that is most praised by everybody. And I don't blame them. It is a strong album. But it's not their best, in my personal opinion. I feel that this band literally gets better with every album. Nocturnal's better than Miasma. I always say that wrong. Deflate's better than Nocturnal. Ritual's better than Deflate. And I feel that Everblack is better than all of them put together. After listening to this literally all day. I woke up, I put this album on, and I've been listening to it up until now. Last night, I was listening to this fucking album. I can't stop listening to it. And there's only been one album this year that as soon as I heard it, I knew it was pretty much an instant classic. It was, you know, album of the year contender, and that is the new Killswitch Engage album, and now the new Black Dahlia Murder album. I have not been this excited about an album like Sam's was, you know, alluding to. I haven't been this excited or this excited to really just review an album like this in a long time. I'm not saying I hate reviewing albums or anything. It's just this album made me excited. I wanted to share what I felt on this album. And this album really just kicks your ass. I mean, seriously, it does not stop. It's the Black Dahlia Murder. They never stop kicking your ass at all. They just boom, boom, boom. It's like a fucking Tommy gun shooting you in the face, you know? It's just one rapid bullet after another, just kicking you in your fucking balls. It starts off with "In Hell Is Where She Waits For Me," and I believe that is the first song that this band has ever written about the actual Black Dahlia murder itself. Which, that song was fantastic. When Trevor says later in that song, "In Hell's Where She Waits For Me," that is one of the best moments of the fucking year to me. It is so cool. And I don't know how they do it. This is one of those bands where, if you really take a step back and look at the Black Dahlia murders, very long career, about 10 years now they're pushing it. Everything you can say sounds the same, but it doesn't. Every song stands out somehow. There's that one moment, that one vocal line, that one vocal pattern, that one riff, that one solo that makes it stand out. And every song seriously stands out on here. And at times, you can see that they somewhat are trying something new. Like at the end of Bloodmine, I feel that riff can be taken straight out of a metalcore song. Or the song, I forget what it's called, but it's just some kind of very strange sounding, eerie chords, and the drums are just blasting the shit out of it. That's just kind of weird. And the Black Dahlia Murderers never done anything like that. It's like they're sticking to what they know and how they know what to do, what they do best. Yet they're trying little things, and I just feel it's awesome. This band is just a riff machine. They're a Pandora box of riffs, and you just open it and you get an amazing fucking riff. And there's some riffs on here that are just, they could go straight along with a fucking Dying Fetus song or a brutal death metal band or something. They're just so chunky, they just slam, and they just fucking rip your face off. And then there's just those really fast riffs that just absolutely kick your ass. And there's also those moments, the last track, I forget what it's called, Map of something. And, I love when Black Dahlia Murder does this. They'll have some chord progressions that are very simple, like Sam was alluding to, talking about them. They're simple chord progressions, and they'll have this amazing lead over top of it that's very eerie, very ambient, and then, Trevor will come in with his absolutely amazing vocals. And that track really just sums up what this album is, all about to me. And then it comes back later at the end of the song, and it just fades out. And it's like the perfect way to end this album. And the drumming, you can't even tell that Shannon Lucas left this band. If I never knew that he left the band, I never read that, I couldn't even tell. Whoever stepped in on drums, I apologize, I do not know his name, but he did an absolutely fantastic job. Some of his beats are just absolutely killer. I haven't been this, enticed to just sit and listen to a drum track or, the drum work in a long fucking time. And there's some amazing beats on this album. And the sound of them just sound awesome. I mean, this band has some of the beefiest sounding guitars and just absolutely destructive sounding drums. And it just all goes together so well. And Sam was saying how Trevor's vocals really haven't changed, and I completely 100% agree with that. But I feel that they're maybe produced a little better. He's figured out what he wants to do a little bit more, obviously, because he's matured and grown as a vocalist, and they're just more well executed. At times, on past Black Dahlia Murder albums, he'll go from high to low like that, and sometimes it just will be kind of weird, and he'll just he'll say one line really up here and one really down here, and there's not a whole lot on that. Like, they transition better. They're like a fucking nice wave, and everything just goes so well on this album. They're well-written songs that each one stands out. If you put this album on, I could be like, yes, that's Bloodmine, that's Control, that's, into the Everblack, every song stands out. And one thing that I feel is maybe the strongest part of this is the soloing. The soloing is just mind-blowing. And as a guitarist, I am just creaming my pants over here. I wish I could be like this guy. I haven't listened to solos that I was just so excited about, so intrigued by, since I heard Marty Friedman's work with Megadeth. I would put Ryan Knight up there with Marty Friedman as writing some of the best solos of all time. He just absolutely nails it. It feels like he hits the perfect notes at the right times. You know, it's not all shreddy. You know, these solos are great because he wrote them. He sat down and he just put them all together. He wasn't like, I'm just going to shred here and do this and do that, and I'm going to tap and then I'm going to sweep. And he didn't do that. He wrote a fucking great solo. My favorite solo is on the song Goat of Departure, and I just love how the rhythm is just kind of chopped up, and it's just fucking heavy as shit, and there's just absolutely amazing solo over top of it, where he just hits some of the greatest bends I've ever fucking heard. Or there's one later in the album where he starts off just by doing a lot of whammy with his guitar, and you know, using the whammy bar a lot. He just puts the perfect touch with it. It's killer. This album, to me, has Album of the Year contender written all over it. This should just be called Album of the Year contender, the album. You know, that was retarded, but it's the truth. I love this fucking album, and I can't get enough of it. It's pretty insane. When I listened to Ritual, I was like, oh my god, this is like the fucking greatest thing this band has ever done. I couldn't get enough of it. This band just gets better and better and better, and I don't see them ever stopping. They're just on a fast fucking train. Keep going. Keep killing everybody. I mean, this band's just a fucking machine, dude. They'll tour their asses off like crazy, and then they'll just put out a killer album. I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they can keep doing this. But I'm glad they can. You know, it's fantastic. That's about all I have left to say. Because if I keep talking about this album, I would be literally rambling on and on and on. And, yeah. Fuck.
You know, for a while now, I haven't really felt the same about reviewing. Because, I don't know, something about reviewing it doesn't seem to be the same as it was before, for me, at least. Maybe it's the albums, the bands, the music that's been out. I feel that something's been missing. And I'm not always the best at saying what I intend to say, what's exactly on my mind, what's going through my, brain and whatnot. But to really collect all of my thoughts and say a few final things about this album, I think that you may not like it. It may not be what you're looking for, but it is exactly what I appreciate. It really calls to me. Just like not everyone may like pickles, some type of food, but some people will go crazy over it, and one day they will find a pickle that is damn good. And this is one of the worst analogies, but just understand what I'm saying, and it will amaze you. You will think, wow. You will be George Costanza, and you'll be like, you will touch the temples of your head, you will put your hands out, and you will be George Costanza, and you will just yell about things. Serenity now. And I hope people watch Seinfeld and understand that. And some people will say it tastes just like any other pickle. I've had pickles before, and it's pretty much like another pickle. Which people could say about the Black Dahlia murder. It's their, perception on everything. But for me, this connects with me, and it hits so hard. It connects with me. I'm not saying, most influential lyrics, because I haven't read the lyrics yet. But the riffs that I like to hear that present themselves to me, and I am so incredibly enticed. There are riffs on this album. And I'm not a solo guy, like I said before. I'm not all about like, ooh, whoop-de-doo. I mean, I know Josh Middleton, he has some good solos. Even bands like Whitechapel, like Ben Savage, I'm pretty sure he's the solo guy for that band for the most part. I've never been like, oh, Whitechapel is the best solos. Yeah, it would be cool, but then you bring on the Black Dahlia Murder, and Ryan Knight riffs, you know, he will like hit you with riffs and stuff, and he'll be hitting you, and then he will, I don't know where I was going with that, but he will hit you with riff after riff, and then play an awesome solo. And Trevor, meanwhile, he is, I love it. I love this album. It is incredible. And even if you think the Black Dahlia Murder or whatever, it's all the same, I've heard people say that. I'm not saying that because it's my opinion. I've heard people say that, people that I know, and I am George Costanza. I'm like, what are you talking about? So, take this album and put it over here. Forget the rest of Black Dahlia Murder. Put this album on its own and listen to it. And you will see the sun shining. But really, this album is fantastic. It attaches itself to me, and I know I'm gonna be on top of this for weeks. And yeah, I'm on top of this and from day one now.
I feel this album just throws the Black Dahlia Murder into a league of its own. Nobody can fucking touch it.
It's weird saying that because they've always been a killer band, like Nocturnal. I know Tyler said a lot of people say it's good, but I'm one of those people. I think it's terrific.
I mean, I think it's good.
Yeah.
I like their more previous stuff.
Yeah, Deflorate too, Nocturnal, incredible albums, but this one somehow, it's like,
I feel with every album, this band just keeps solidifying themselves as death metal legends. Personal opinion, of course, but you know, we talked about this in our track review. You know, we'll look back 10, 15 years from now and be like, Black Dahlia Murder. Just like we look back and we're like, Suffocation or Obituary or something like that. It just...
I love it. I don't know how else to say it. It's awesome. You'll hear it and you'll be like, yeah.
And we haven't done a review this long. A long fucking time.
Oh yeah, it's getting long.
So, I don't know. I don't have much.
Buy it. Check it out. Listen to
buying
it while it's streaming. I'm buying it. I'm buying like 8 copies. And whatever. Check it out. If you don't like it, you know, the world's not going to end. And
if you don't like it, just move on to something else.
Try different
more
pickles.
of your preference. Exactly. What would you give this album?
You go first. I have to think of something.
I'm going to give this album a... 10 out of 10. I'm not shitting you. This is a fucking amazing album.
Very few albums I'd give 10 out of 10. And I haven't heard an album this good since a previous album that I would now give a 10 out of 10. Like I said, Dead Throne, that's my opinion. I would say like 9.9 out of 10. I don't know if I can give it a 10. If I listen to it more, someday I will look back and like 10. Perfect 10. Perfect figure. Got the booty on it. Got some nice... It's stacked pretty nice. You know? Got the booty, the
Some
legs.
people might think we're crazy, but this is personal opinion.
I don't take
course.
stuff seriously. Just
But-
know that. I don't review very
Yeah.
seriously.
That is true. Thanks. If you watch this whole thing, holy shit, you're a true pro.
That's
so,
like 20 minutes.
So thanks for watching. Buy the Black Dahlia Murders Everblack when it comes out June 11th. We are.